Next, we'd request Mr. Nalin Kumar Sharma, President Asia, Middle East and Pacific at Ecopia. Let's have a huge round of applause for Mr. Sharma as well. Next, we'd invite Mr. Rajesh Malia, COO Presento. We would now request Mr. Vikas Mathur, Country Manager, India 3E to come up. And well then, completing this session is KM Boso. We request Mr. Boso, VP Sales, QoS Energy and Envision Digital to please come up. Let's have a huge round of applause for all the panelists. It's over to the moderator, Ms. Sangeeta Suresh.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. Very interesting topic indeed. The topic has it can become very futuristic and sci-fi-like, but we will stick to the basics. The topic of digitalization can be a little complex, how to, and there's a lot of jargon around it. But today's session, we hope to sort of demystify some of those jargons. We hope to sort of simplify what it means to maximize RE assets. I'm no expert, so I will not keep prattling on, and I will hand over to my esteemed panelists here. It's a privilege to be here speaking with you and learning from all of you. So, without much ado, I'd like to start off with the first of my questions, and maybe I will start with Vikas today. So, Vikas, we hear a lot about this word digital twin around the digitalization space. I would love for you to sort of break down what that means in terms of the technology and what it means for the developer and the operator. So, over to you, Vikas.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta. When you have the number of panelists equal to the number of audience, you can understand that this is not a very interesting subject for the market. But there is another issue which is very important and which gives me a lot of confidence. This means that the entire world which is sitting outside is our customers, right? They don't know about this, and we have a long way to go. So we have to go and tell them. Anyway, so this digital twin, she talked about that. I think if you directly see the meaning of digital twin, it means that you do the twinning with your sisters, the mother-daughter do the twinning, all these things. So it is similarly, you are twinning your plant which is there on the side into your computers. And there is nothing, no better definition can be there for this. So whatever is there on your plant, what you are trying to do is that you are capturing everything into a digital platform, so that you can see it on your computers, and then the data which is coming out of those things, you can work on that data, make them useful for you, and this is what I think we all are into. So the entire panel is basically in the same business. But yes, digital twin, I think it's also important to understand that there are many ways by which you can acquire the data and make use of the data. Now, somebody can go only up to SCADA level. They just get these data from the SCADA, and whatever is coming, enrich the data, make it homogeneous, and then make it useful for you. Somebody may go deeper into that, and the companies like us, and I'm sure the other people will also talk about themselves. We call it a physics-based digital twin, which is essentially, we are going to the last mile, and all the equipments that are available in the solar PV plants are captured in that. And once you have all the specification sheets, the characteristics of even the modules that are configured in that, that is the time when you can easily start working on the analytics and even advanced analytics that we nowadays are promoting. So I think should be good enough, a basic definition. Thank you.
Understood. Just one follow-up question. So you say physics-based model. So this doesn't mean the model is built on past performance criteria, is it? Is it on a hypothetical best-case scenario model?
So, Sangeeta, first of all, digital twin is independent of all these things. Digital twin means that you are, first of all, you are capturing everything into a digital platform, and it ends there. After that, what do you do with that data is a different story. So what some people do is that they will have statistical formulas, right? You can have algorithms where you write that if A plus B plus C equals to this, then this is D, right? This is a statistical model or a straight mathematical model. But then you can add on top of that is your machine learning. So machine learning means that whatever historical data that are being generated, computer learns and then it says that, okay, this happened, so this will lead to this. But again, there is a problem with that if it learns the bad things and if it starts thinking that this is the right thing, then it will tell you that this is the normal thing. So what we are as a company doing is that we are, doing the simulations. We are also using the site sensors and of course artificial intelligence and machine learning. So it's a combination of these things that finally throws out the result in front of you. I don't say that is the best thing that can happen in the world, because everybody has their own ideas. They have done their research on that. Nothing is perfect, but yeah, I mean, we all are trying to reach a level of perfection where we give you the data which is reliable, which helps you in taking the right decisions.
Understood. Thank you, Vikas. I think with your mention of machine learning and other things, I think I'll take it to Guillaume next. I know that QoS has its expertise in the CNI space. I would like to hear from you, what would the business needs of a CNI megawatt smaller developer versus a utility scale, large scale developer be? What should they be evaluating in terms of choosing the right digital solution for themselves?
Hello, everyone. A lot of people interested by your subject. But anyway, it means all our customers are really busy at the event, which is, in a nutshell, fantastic. What we do at QS Energy, which, by the way, now is part of a much bigger group, is first, when we talk about digitalization for renewable, we want to go back to basic. So for us, which is really important, is having a really strong data supply chain, because we do believe that if the flow of data coming from the machine, coming from the sensors, is not a good flow of data, then you can put whatever you want in terms of digitization, advanced analytics, or, well, you name them. But first, back to basic, let's get a proper flow of data. Those data can be historian data, but also real-time data, if we are talking about big assets. We need to have those data, we need to collect them, we need to organize them to get rid about all the heterogeneity of the system we can deal with. And then on top of this, we offer some high-end monitoring solution. I know monitoring is a little bit old-fashioned, but somehow, and sometimes I like to be old-fashioned, because this is the basic. Because doing this, and we believe that we give the correct information at the correct time to our user, which are mostly IPP and O&M. Then, of course, once we've done this, on top of this, we can imagine to plug some advanced solution, advanced analytics. Those solutions can be based on a, let's say, simple statistic approach. We have this internally at QS Energy. But then we can also imagine to put some solution based on proper machine learning and AI. Because yes, even if I'm an old-fashioned guy when we talk about data, I still do believe, and we do believe in the group, that AI and ML can bring solution to our market, because in the end, let's not forget, we are always trying to bring solution to our customer. And I would say the correct solution at the correct time and for the correct subject. I will take a simple example. Let's say, for example, we have a customer which is saying, hey guys, let's have a look at my peer, it's really bad. I'm missing something like 10 or 20%. If you are in this bracket of unperformance, I think the main issue will not be sorted out by AI. It will be sorted out by proper operation. And to proper operate your project, basically you need to go back to basic, which is what I was talking about first. So this is our approach. Go back to basic. Let's organize all those data, because in the end, let's not forget that data is somehow money, gold, someone will say this. And then data basically need to be handled and managed like a proper asset. Because IPP, when they get some project, which is basically our main target, let's be fair. When they have some project, okay, they get them for something like 5 years, 10 years, and then maybe they want to offload those projects, you know? And when they offload this project from their portfolio, well, the new buyer will say, hey, how is this plant is behaving? When you have all your data well organized, well stored, when you can pick up everything you need with all the context, the sensors, well, you get everything. And then your assets start to be a bankable asset. This is our approach, and this is, generally speaking, the global solution we are trying to bring to our customer.
So the approach will be the same irrespective of the size, whether it's a CNI or a
yeah,
utility?
it's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. When you're a CNI player, most of the time you have well, our customer list, they have a large fleet. So for them, it's more in being able to identify which plant in my fleet is not behaving normally. When you have a large-scale utility-scale project, it can be PV or wind, or even ESS, it's the same. It's another subject. It's not only just what we call APM, Asset Performance Management, but it's also about asset monitoring, which is more being able to control, switch on, switch off, yeah, basically being behind the steering wheel. So the approach is different. Is it possible to do the same with one single tool? Well, we've tried to do this at QS for many years. We figured out that we were really good in the CNI large fleet plus small size, mid-size utility scale, and that there were other animals like Basefield, which is our grand brother now, which are doing this perfectly for utility scale. So obviously, cost energy is in a situation which is a little bit different than it used to be something like a couple of months ago. So yeah, we can, I think, at least in our group, bring solution to a wide range of system. And yeah, clearly, to make it simple, the approach will probably be a little bit different, depending on the nature of the assets. That's what I feel, and in the end, that's what we see with our customer.
All right, thank you for that.
Welcome.
I think I'll come to Mr. Rajesh now for a little bit more back to fundamentals. People talk, it used to be reactive approach to asset management. Then it became proactive, and then it's predictive now. But all this seems, to a layperson like me, common sense. However, this attitude is really not widely adopted, is the kind of feedback I get. Am I right in my assumption? Is there still ways to go for the Indian market? What has been your experience as a homegrown solution provider?
So, see, the current challenge or current state of the overall renewable is a growth stage, right? So they have enough money raised. Everyone is focusing on growth, lining up capital, adding capacity. And that's where the real focus is. While digital tools are there, a lot of operations and a lot of overall practice is still disjointed. People continue to do what they would have done with Excels using this large data. And while these tools are enabling them with a lot of features, their operational processes are not changed. What we believe, there are few things that are happening which will force everyone to really adopt a different way of approach is the scale of growth. What the money they have applied, 3 to 4 years down the line, they will have 6 to 7 times capacities. But the number of people who will be managing from the corporate will not change. So that's going to be one key driver. The second key driver is that this separation of solar, wind, energy storage is going to go down. We have started seeing very, very small operators having energy storage as an integral component. So the complexity of the business is going to change. The third is that there are different tools and knowledge and data is coming from the market, which is the signals from the sensors, the forecasting value, the energy satellite data, including thermography data, drone data. So there's a huge data coming in, and today companies have different teams looking into this data. Probably they will have to optimize that part. And shortly, and that's very critical, we all know that's what's happening, there's a huge consolidation happening in the producer side. People who came with their capability to get licenses are now exiting. The funds which are patient capital is coming in, large corporates are coming in, and they all look at ROI. And I don't want to, it's good that there are lot of people there, otherwise I will be giving them a big pain. They all look at P50 as a goal. And looking at the portfolio, a large portfolio that we manage in India, I think that's not P50. They're talking about those numbers in their business assumption which are P10 or P20. That means they are running at an average of 3 to 5% lesser irradiation than their business case assumptions. And the worst thing is that their operational efficiencies are ensuring 2% lesser generation than that. So today, the bigger problem, and that's what going to force everyone to change their operating processes. While these tools are available, technologies are available, people are still going to preventive maintenance. Apply the same cleaning cycles, apply the same maintenance practices, and really differentiate between the tools which are opportunity identification tools to opportunity management tools. And there's a whole white space of effectiveness assessment, that all this work that is happening in discrete place, is it effective? So looking at all these three, I strongly believe that there is going to be a tremendous demand from the market. These owners are going to drive that. We already see when in our cases, our clients calling us saying that our investor panel came in and they asked, how are you going to manage the 5 times growth of your fund, and then help us to strategize better. So we are listening that now, and I think we strongly believe that things will change in the near future.
Okay, that's good to know. Just another follow-up question, because I am aware that you have a large portfolio of distributed renewables under your, as part of in your India portfolio. Is that particularly challenging? Large number of rooftops, retrofitting, legacy systems that you take over. Is that a challenge at all? Or is that just run of the mill a day in your work life?
So when I say large number, its number is really large, but their overall megawatt is very, very small. And they are very different players. They are players who specialize in the rooftop. There are clear issues, clear issues in the sense many of them are organically built by them. So there's a technology that they have deployed. And there are also huge acquisitions that they have done where the reason they acquired because there was no enough technology. So one of the problems that we have to deal as a player is not just say, I'm a cloud provider, give me a data. We have to invest into tools to assess the data quality and advise them that these 10 sites actually don't send right data. So go and fix them, because if they don't fix them, then whatever is going to come to us is of no use to you. The second important thing is that these players, at least that we are working with, are clearly at least taking the next step where they are using not this only for monitoring and analytics, but to really control their operational strategy through us, saying that if these defects are come in, send a work order to the field, let the people go, and also some of the people who are funding them have a very, very stringent safety standards. So they also want to see whether the safety norms are followed at the site through this technology platform. So the expectation of operationalizing is going dramatically higher. So take the whole identification of an opportunity at the backside and push it to the inside, the insights in the front, and directly route them to the field to work. So that's something that we are seeing very largely adopted by the rooftop than the utility scale, because they still have enough people to do that manually.
Right. Distributed is just not possible to employ that many people.
You see, a plant is a plant eventually, right? So, somebody is managing 400 plants and somebody managing 5 plants is a different ball game. It doesn't even fit in the single screen.
Understood.
Yeah.
So data, you brought up data, large amount of data being available, and Guillaume, you said, data is gold. Now, as a developer, the data that they get through your various systems, you and 3E and QoS, all of you, how does it translate for the user? Can you, any of you, give me a practical approach? How do you understand what is the gap in the expected energy versus actual energy, and how does the developer assess the problem and implement it? If you can walk us through this value, through this step, that would be great. Any one of you, please.
So Sangeeta, data is just an enabling tool for these digital platforms, which will tell you where you are going wrong, right? And then you have to address those issues. So for example, solar industry has become extremely mature now. Everybody knows the type of modules, cabling losses, and the system losses. Everything is very, very known to people. There are historical data available. There are very good engineers available in this country who design the systems with a great accuracy. But you know what? You may be incurring those losses in the plant while you are operating those plants that you may not be aware of. This is one. So if a digital platform can help you in categorization of those losses, and if it can tell you that here is a loss that you can recover. Not every loss is recoverable. Like if your module is degrading faster than the expected degradation, you can't recover it every overnight, right? Either you will change the module sometimes, or there will be discussions with the module suppliers. But of course, if your inverter is derating faster because of overheating, few inverters, and if you come to know about that immediately as soon as it starts happening, you can take corrective actions. I mean, in India, and I am from that culture, that I have spent more than 30 years in this industry. So generally, in front of every electrical panel, you will see somebody puts a fan. Almenaro fans, those big pedestal fans, to keep them cool, right? The gentleman in blue is laughing. Yeah, so this is what we do, but at least you should know that this particular inverter is derating faster because it is heating up. The temperature is high. So suppose you are losing 0.5% of your yield because of these type of problems that you can control or you can recover. And if you own a portfolio of, let's say, 10 gigawatts, it runs into crores. Your entire operational cost comes out of it. So digitalization is certain. You go for anybody's digitalization, any company you select. But digitalization is something which comes to you at a throwaway price when you compare it with the return on investment. So it is a no-brainer. You take any digital platform, but the point is that you should have an automated system that tells you by sitting on your table that gentlemen go and address this issue. And your job is done. You just have to get the right thing in place.
Anything to add to it, Guillaume or Rajesh?
Yeah, I have to say, I pretty agree with what's been said already. It's having an access to the root cause why basically we lose revenue on the plant is for every operator, every owner of project is the Graal somehow. They all want to know this. There used to be some genius which were able basically to identify this, just by a blink of an eye. But it works when you have a small fleet. Now business is basically booming, When you have a look on the trend regarding the TIC installed in each country, well, you need to have some tool and proper tools for this. I think all around this table this evening, maybe we have all a different approach to reach this, but in the end, we all want basically to bring the correct information at the correct moment to our customer. Vikash mentioned basically identifying precisely the losses. We try to do this also aside with different approach. Some one are statistical, some other are basically based on AI and machine learning. I think Precento is pretty good in this also. But I also do believe that maybe what will be fantastic for a customer is being able to cross basically physical information coming from sensors, machine. Sensors for me is pyranometer, or now it also can be satellite irradiation data, which is a key point for regarding, well, we are facing an issue and a challenge regarding costs. So at the moment, people were always putting some sensors. Now sensors are too expensive, especially in the CNI market. So it means that we have to switch to something else. Satellite data is here to help us. I think we're all around the table to use this. But it's not even enough. I know Ecopia, I think, is working in a solution for cleaning. Well, tomorrow we will all have to provide solution which gives the ability to our customer to cross technical data coming from the machine to, I would say, data coming from maintenance, Is it scheduled, yes or no? Can we improve the cleaning by artificial intelligence? I mean, crossing this, for example, okay, let's take an example. You have a fleet of projects. You know that in this area you will have massive rain in something like 2 days. Does it make sense to start your cleaning right now? Maybe it's better to wait. And for this, digitalization is a huge help because crossing the data coming from the different places, different sources, well, we can bring intel to our customer, bring solution, and make basically renewable energy more affordable, more efficient. And I think it's a banco for everyone. Yeah. That's what we are trying to do. Have we reached this? Well, part of it.
Yeah, thank you. All the talk about losses, I think, brings me to you, Nalin. Sorry to have kept you waiting, but we did have a lot to hear from digital service providers at the panel. Losses, soiling losses, of course, is one of the main components of O&M related issues. And I think right now Ecopia doesn't need too much introduction in India. You're very popular. You have a big portfolio in India. If you can quickly talk to us about, again, what are the risks a developer should be thinking about when he is identifying a solution provider such as yourself? I mean, right now I think it's a no-brainer, especially in India with our huge pipeline of under construction projects coming up in arid, water scarce and resource manpower scarce areas of Rajasthan, Gujarat. So it's a no-brainer that options such as your robotics is what people should be looking at. But what are the risks that they should be looking at before they evaluate the right solution?
Sure, Sangeeta. So you are right that in India it has become a no-brainer to go with robotic solution. So in fact, more than 60 to 70% of greenfield projects which are coming up, in the design stage itself, they are considering robotic solution. And more than 40% of brownfield projects are looking to retrofit to move to robotic solutions. So it has become a no-brainer. The main thing which needs to be looked at is two things. First is safety, and second is reliability. So when we talk about safety, so robotics is like less than 1% of the total project cost. But it is running on solar panels, which is like 50% of the total project cost. So you should not try to save a penny here and there and risk something which is much more valuable. So the first thing should be the robot should not damage the panel, it should not damage the structure, so on and so forth. So, and I'll tie it up to what my fellow panelists were talking about, predictability and so on and so forth. For example, in our case, our robot comes with something which is known as adaptive speed control. So if you are moving on a structure wherein, let's say, slopes are very, very mild, then robots would move at a different speed as compared to when there is steep slope, so that we don't damage either the module or the module mounting structures. It's like, say, when you are driving and you hit a speed breaker, you change the speed of the car. So that is one. Second, coming to reliability. So it should not happen that instead of robot working for you, you are working for the robot. So there are so many breakdowns, so many challenges that you are always worried what to do, what not to do. As my fellow panelist Rajesh was pointing, the portfolio size is increasing many times, but the people who are managing is not increasing that much. So you need to have a provider wherein it's a plug and forget. You basically buy a system and then you have a lot of peace of mind. So in this as well, there are a lot of things which goes in, as my fellow panelist was sharing, that in case of cleaning, it is not going to happen at the same day, at different days on same time. It will change as per various parameters such as wind speed, such as relative humidity. Let's say there is a day when there is a dust storm at 10 a.m. Then you won't wait till evening, till sun goes down to do the cleaning. You will do cleaning in the daytime itself, so that you save on losing generation for the day. So safety and reliability is very important. Second thing is, robots are something you are buying for 25 years. So financial strength of the company is very, very important. Let's say your contract says you have a liability or LD clause of $15 million, but the company's net worth is 5 million, or they don't have that much cash, then it is futile. So you should look at how much cash the company has, what is the track record, because speaking is very easy, but delivering in the field is very, very different ball game altogether. So that is second thing we should be looking at. Third and most important thing is, what is the expense or investment that the company is doing in R&D? Because this is a very, very nascent technology. So if it's not a very R&D driven company, then the client, despite paying money, end up becoming a white mouse on which experimentation is being done. So the company should be a company which has come up with a product for 1 year or at least 18 months. It is doing trials in the field. There are alpha testing, beta testing on hundreds of systems in different conditions, so that what you get is a tried and tested product and not something which is semi-cooked. So I would say these are the main criterias on which developers should look at when selecting a robotic player.
Understood. Thank you, Nalin. Another question. How about the maintenance of the robots themselves? Like that, how does a developer manage that? Because like you said, they shouldn't work on that as well. Are there automated digital solutions that you offer?
So that is another interesting question, which is something a lot of people miss out on. So I think we should all go by data points. So a very simple test could be, we had 150 days of national lockdown in last 18 months. So simple test can be, you should look at how many robotic companies were there who operated on all 150 days without any manual intervention. Because then the solution is actually truly autonomous. If there is a person who is taking care of it, then basically it's not an autonomous system. So in our case, in national lockdown, we didn't miss even a single cleaning cycle because again, we spend a lot in R&D. We have put in $25 million just in this year. And we have a 40,000 square feet R&D space wherein we are developing different scenarios to test it out. Another point to check is what is the manpower on ground. So it should not be the case that R&D is left to some third-party players. You should see how many maintenance engineers are on roll of the company, because that shows seriousness of the company in basically ensuring that the commitments it has made are taken care of. And thirdly, it ties to the point that my panelists were making, that ultimately, basically the site size is increasing, portfolios are also increasing. So the system need to be very, very robust so that the IPP, after paying, should not be worrying about maintenance. They should know that, for example, in case of robotics, 20 to 25% is capex, and 70 to 75% is spread over next 25 years. So there is a lot of skin in the game. So that automatically ensures if you are tying up with a company which is, say, not just doing a capex and signing a 25-year maintenance contract as well. So there is liability for 25 years. So that ensures skin is in the game, and automatically you don't have to worry too much about maintenance of the system.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for that. You did talk about greenfield projects which are designed optimally. Is that something that the digital solution providers are also looking at happen going forward? Because so far, possibly you're looking at deploying your solutions for existing projects, which might result in data quality or data acquisition issues. Is that the case with is that your experience so far, or is it okay to acquire data from existing projects? It's not a challenge. I'd like to hear from all three of you, please.
Well, basically, thankfully, we are able to acquire data on new project, but also on existing project. I will talk here for Cost Energy and also for Envision Digital. We are a software provider. We don't push that much for a specific type of hardware. We have, of course, recommendation to our customer in terms of, well, is this equipment a good one, yes or no? We can also provide to them some scenario strategy regarding what they need and what they want to do. But in the end, we have to accept that sometime we're going to have to deal with a system we don't know yet. So in this situation, but I think it's exactly the same for Presento and for Sri, and you guys, you told me if I'm wrong, but being a software provider, we need to adapt. So sometime we have to develop connectors, driver, piece of software to grab information on those new systems. This is part of what we do on a daily basis. So with this, basically, we grab data on the asset, even if they are existing. Then the question is, do we have access to historical data? And if the customer is well organized, potentially yes. If the customer is not mature enough on those subjects, well, maybe we're gonna face some issue to fill the gap and being able to import a proper historical, time series, information. If data is not available for us, we cannot, unfortunately, invent this data. We are not magicians. We have a lot of tricks, but if data is not available over there, we have an issue. Let me give you a story. It's a really proper one. We used to work with a customer which basically figured out that after 30 days, is it 30 or 60? Well, his local SCADA basically doesn't store anymore the information. So there was a huge need to have a proper software solution which was able to collect basically those historical data to and live data, basically to create a proper historian. Then it comes to the choice of the customer. Some of them will decide to have a top-notch solution in terms of hardware with a proper database on site, and okay, you get everything. But some of them will basically, well, no, let's be fair. It's not sometimes their decision. It's just sometimes the economics of the project, which doesn't give them the opportunity to have a hyper super fancy high-end solution, and they have to go for something which is a little bit more low cost. And then, well, us all around the table as supplier, well, we can bring solution to let's say create a sort of a digital a digital historian. At least in my group, all data we acquire on the project, once we've acquired them, whatever the granularity of the data we are talking about, it can be 1 second data, it can be 1 minute average, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we keep those data in our system. Of course, it comes with a cost. But at least with this, you get a complete set of data. And we do believe that some customers are willing to pay for this just because then they think about potentially offloading their project, or at least if they don't offload them, if they don't sell them, they will use this existing portfolio to leverage basically equity and then build new projects. But to being able to do this, of course, you need to be able to say to a financial company, hey, those data, it means that we have this incident, and okay, and can you guarantee that we will have this performance? Yes, of course, because we are at the top of our game, and we have the solution to do this. So I think all of us around the table, even if sometimes we're competitors with our customer, we are really, really, really important to the success and the penetration of renewable energy onto the grid, which is something we have absolutely to do, especially when we have a look everywhere where we live about the summer we have with crazy temperature. The climate is changing, you know, in a blink of an eye. So I think it's time to move forward. And I think everyone around the table is passionate by what we are doing. Yeah, we are trying to put also our footprint over there.
So, I think Guillaume said he gave all the insights about that. I think the question you wanted to know that is the historical data important for all the new projects when we are connecting that.
Yes, the quality of data and acquisition of data,
Yeah.
especially from historical legacy project, is that a challenge?
Yeah. So it's actually not a challenge as long as the data quality is good, and all the good platforms, whether it is Quos or anybody else, we all have those capabilities to acquire data. Now, if you have, there could be instances where you will have some gaps in data, right? Some data for some particular period was not available, and then you are acquiring those data. So data cleaning is required, and that takes a hell lot of a time. But if you have a good quality data available, it is easier. If that is not available, then you have to do some work on that, make them homogeneous. The data's formats may be different, so you have to make them homogeneous and then get those data. But the best thing about historical data is then on the first day itself, you can do forecasting simulations in a more accurate manner because you have historical data available. If that is not available, then what you would do is that exactly the way you do your PV assist, you estimate something, and then as you go further, you find that okay, it is this, I considered this loss to be 2%, it is actually 2.2%, something like that. But if the historical data is there, your accuracy levels go up from day one, and more historical data available, more accuracy you can have. But the point here is that data is something which is it's like a newborn baby. So you have to develop that, you have to enrich that, you have to make sure that it is correct. If the data is incorrect, or if it is wrongly used or wrongly predicted, then all the decision making becomes wrong. Yeah.
Thank you. Rajesh?
Yeah. What I will add is that, if I look at the two segments, which are utility segments and the CNI rooftop segment largely, the rooftop equipments are designed to exchange the data on the cloud or someplace. They're designed for that. But for utility scale, it's a component that people have to buy. So many old people have never procured those components. So when you go for fresh purchase, the costs are high. But in recent time, everyone is factoring those components with the SCADA vendors that give us these connectors so that we can take the data out. So it's becoming easier. However, second part, flip side of that is, we have been working with a lot of greenfield projects, and when the first set of data starts coming in, we actually find that many of the sensors are not working, they're not communicating, and then there's a journey. There's a journey of manpower that we need to deploy, to communicate, to educate. So that's actually going slightly beyond just a digital platform company to really help client manage that. So both have their own challenges. But I think one thing is very sure, that everyone is realizing that the data has to be in the cloud. And I think future they will do something better with that.
Rajesh, another question for you, and I think I want to take it from a point mentioned by Guillaume. If somebody wants to offload the company, they have the data, they can show the performance of their asset, and it's all very useful, which is a very interesting point. In the sense, how is the data that you're acquiring structured for the various people in a particular company? Because the operations team has a requirement, the product manager has a different requirement, the C-suite executive who is looking at during the investments or equity investments. So how is that managed, these various requirements managed by your product? And I'm happy to hear from the other two members on the team as well.
So as you rightly brought that point, that there are different stakeholders, and these stakeholders are also morphing. For example, just few years back, the central monitoring team was all about reports and tracking. Today, they are responsible to initiate actions. So with these changes that are happening, there has to have some inherent flexibility in every product, to offer the user to look at their workspace, and they should be able to configure their workspace. It can only hit the limit of your own product if you cannot operationalize the insight. That means you can't throw work orders and get the response back, then you will limit yourself there. But if you can, then you should allow the user to make their own workflows. So configurability is becoming a big ticket item now, and I think as the digitalization and digital transformation, which is the right word, kicks in, this configurability will reach to a level, and that will pressurize or challenge every application provider to either build those components or create APIs so that other tools can work and they can actually run their unique processes seamlessly. So that will be another pressure point that will come. Yeah.
Yes. As mentioned, there is different stakeholders, and they don't want to see the same stuff, basically. People which are doing the operation, they want to have all the alarm at the correct time, and sometimes even in real time. They want also to drill down, to being able to drill down into the asset model, not just only the plant level, but going to the inverter, sometimes panel, if your system allowed to do this. And then you have the middle management, which was want to see, okay, what is the group of projects which are not performing pretty well. So we are exactly going back to what's been told by presenter. It's basically, you need to be enabled to see the data from a different perspective regarding your position, basically, into the company. And then you have the CX people, which want only to see some black figures and not red figures. Never. They never want to say this. So it means on our tool, in our different tool, I'm sure of this, and we have all developed different way to present, to showcase, to highlight certain part of what's of set of data, what's happening, to consolidate also this data, to cross this data in between the different plant of a portfolio, to compare the data when you have a specific type of machine inverter, for example, because well we are in this business sector since a long time, so we all know that sometimes some of our provider, I mean OEM inverter, they get some range of product which get some issue, and most of the time our customer want to be able to identify basically those patterns, and we come basically to another subject we have not discussed today. It's basically how can we virtualize, modelize the PV plant into our system. I think we all have a different way to do it, but it's a key part basically of what we are doing. Yeah. And yeah, and then I would say the subject can never end. So what we have decided to do at QoS, but I think it's exactly the same for my fellow panelists today. There is something which is fantastic. It's API. Let's not forget that something like 4 years ago, monitoring solution used to be somehow a bit close. We want customer to stay into our system and in our system only. Now, basically, when we see the requirement they have, we are clearly leaning toward BI solution. Do CosEnergy and Envision Digital want to create a new Power BI? The answer is clearly no. So API over there for this. And then it gives the ability to our customer to, mix this data potentially with financial data, you know, because we are mostly dealing with technical KPI. But then, yeah, you have financial. With Power BI, you can do it easily. You can, do plenty of stuff. And with API, it's fairly simple. I think the entire basically software industry for renewable basically now is working with this. It's really, really important to being able to cross data in between platforms. And I have to say, even also, I'm sure we have some customer at CosEnergy which are using 3 system, and we collect data basically through the 3 API, and vice versa. You know, it's part basically of this big community, and it's really important, and it help a lot. Yeah. And it applies not only for KPI, but also for event. We can push basically the subject toward tickets if we have a CMMS system into our platform. Yeah, we can talk about it for hours.
Yeah, you are right. I think already I can see time is up. It seems, I first thought it is written thumbs up, then I realized it is time is up. So which is, we have really discussed a lot about data acquisition and the usefulness of the data. I would also like to bring up one more subject, is the digitalization is not like solar PV modules or inverters where you have IEC standards and everybody has to comply to certain standards. It's a very, I would say, dependent on the individual companies. We are into, innovation business. So everybody does their own innovations. Everybody has a different approach. But only thing is that, we need to have a system where all these PV plants are getting the right quality of data, and then they, we all should have the correct information in our hands so that we take the correct decisions. We do not want a developer to be taking a decision based on wrong data, and other guys are earning more because they are able to have the right information with them. So this is something probably we all have to agree, and probably one day will come when you will have a pool of data which is available for everybody, at least a basic pool of data, which is which is correct, so that all the companies can, all the developers can use the right bottom lines, and then on top of that you can do a lot of analytics and intelligent work. But I think the basic data homogenization is extremely important, which is presently not available in the industry.
Yeah, that's a very important point, and I think I will close on that point. I do have a few questions about, but clearly we don't have enough time, but I'm sure there'll be other platforms where we can discuss this. But the key takeaway from this session for me today is that with the data that you, through all your systems, you're able to harness, is that you have a well-informed, data-driven crystal ball to gaze into, which someone didn't have before. And that's fantastic as a solution for the industry. And I really hope for the sake of the growth of the industry, the adoption is much more faster. And good luck to all of you today. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of this discussion. Thank you.
Well, fitting conclusion to what turned out to be a very enriching opening day of Renewable Energy India Expo. At the onset of the panel discussion on digitalization and renewables, Ms. Sangeeta Suresh had talked about demystifying the jargon, and that's so important to make the topic inclusive, and that's precisely what you have done. So please, let's have a huge round of applause for the panelists and the moderator. Let's please put our hands together for them. And with this, day one comes to a close. Brainstorming continues over the next 2 days. Thank you so much for joining today. We'd have a group picture right now of the panelists and the moderator. So let's oblige the cameras.